Hello and welcome back to the Punchers Chant podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be reviewing last weekend's fights. That's the return of the last fight for Derek Chisora, or so he said, and of course the top tier and GBM shows that me and Ben were in attendance for, so subscribe for all that good content, and obviously our preview later in the week as well. Straight into it. He done it, didn't he?
Yeah. Come on.
Was it me and you that got it right?
Yeah, I got it wrong. I did get it wrong.
It was a cracking performance, Mike.
Never in doubt.
He's aging like a fine wine, is Derek Chisora, ain't he?
Sure, yeah. We'll go with that. That was a good performance. It was a genuinely sound performance, certainly compared to his opponent, Otto Wallin, who was, let's be honest,
did look like a different fighter, didn't he? That's the worst I've ever seen him fight.
You know, this is the man that that got us to say, "Oh, AJ's back, boys." And I was obviously, like I said, I was at the GBM show and I've spoken to all the press guys there. Everyone unanimously said two things: Otto Wallin will win, and if Chisora wins, it's not going to be by points.
No.
And what do we know?
Well, everyone, I wasn't, especially after his fight against Joe Joyce, I wasn't expecting Chisora to go the distance again after the state that he was in. What was it, from the 8th round to the 12th round in that fight? But no, great performance by him. And what was that now? His 49th fight.
Next one's 50th.
36 win. Unbelievable. And you look at the names now that he could go up against. I like what he did at the end of the fight. He had, what was it, a picture of Usyk, a picture of Dubois, Joshua, same management company. Imagine that, and potentially now, you said about it was his last fight in the UK. Derek Chisora could be going, he could have another couple of years in this game after that sort of performance. Do I want him to have a couple more years in this game? No. If he said to us, or if he came out this week and said, that's me done, I don't want to be in this business anymore, I'll go out on a win, I don't need that big payday, I would be happy. And but yeah, going back to Otto Wallin as well, I thought watching it, there was a bit of concerns for me that maybe Wallin would just stay at a distance and outbox him simply, but he was just very negative all night. When he looked like a completely different fighter, like he said, and I don't think he can live off that performance against Tyson Fury anymore after that performance on Saturday.
No. I couldn't believe that 114, 112 scorecard as well.
Ridiculous.
That is a joke.
With if you take the two knockdowns away, that means that they had Otto Wallin winning that fight.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, no, that is mental. But he did win it, I think, quite comfortably, Chisora. I know him. I think he said in the last round to his corner, he's like, "Are we losing this?" Like he didn't think necessarily he was winning, but I think he was.
Shows how much he wants it as well. That does, don't it? And at his age, was he 41? He's at the top end. He's not at the top end, but he's still pushing up the rankings. And that was an IBF eliminator now.
Yeah, so it's for the IBF number 2. So
the eliminator
Jagba's for the number 1, and then that will pick up for Dubois Parker winner, and then that's technically the next person down the line. But I think the one thing that we were also saying in the press area was that we think that Wallin's going to win, but if Chisora wins, I'm slightly concerned about who they give him next, because he's won, let's be honest, against a shit opponent. If they push it and they give him a really great, better opponent next time, he's just going to get hurt, I think.
I honestly think they do him against AJ in Saudi. His 50th fight, give him a big last payday. And you can sort of build it as well now. AJ's last win was against Otto Wallin as well, so it's just an easy build, I think, for the two of them. And it's a way to get AJ back in the winning record and he'd be basically second in line then for that IBF title again, won't he? That's if he's sticking around long enough to go for titles again.
As much as I despise the man, I think Chisora against Miller might be the fight that he could potentially make, because can you imagine the build-up between that? I talked about in this last week through Fight Week, I wanted to see Chisora throwing a table, punching Otto Wallin in the face-off. He had him in a headlock, but I think against Miller, the build-up to that would be quite fun and would build that fight massively. And he did say as well, he might go back on what he said about fighting, this being his last fight in the UK. Do I believe him? I think he's
I think that's the difficult thing sometimes, don't it? Boxers love the sport so much. It's hard to give it up, even when you've probably time to hang up the
time to
gloves.
what I really hope is if he does fight again in the UK, they call the event The Last Dance again.
Yeah.
Because that would just be great. Just to
2.0,
really, not even 2.0, just be like, oh, this is the last dance, and just to take the piss about the fact that, I think he just, the way it went out, because it was such a good performance, and it was a classic kind of Chisora with a nasty cut, and he fought through it and all of this. It was too good for him to want to walk away from.
Mm-hmm.
If he'd lost that fight, it would have been easy for him to walk away from the sport. But after a performance like that, after a fight like that, in entertaining the fans like that, like he always has, you can't blame him for having the hunger to be like, do you know what? One more time, will it hurt? And it could hurt, and it could be, it could be one time too many, but you can't blame him for wanting it.
Yeah, that's the thing, it is, especially when you're off the back of what was an impressive win again. Because, like, going into this fight, I think most people had most people had Wallin winning, if anything. But yeah, I think that's the difficult thing, and it is just walking away from the sport sometimes, especially when you clearly love it as much as he does, and like he's been involved in, like, when you look back over the 49 fights he's had and some of the people he's fought, he's been in some massive fights.
He's boxed everyone as well, hasn't he? And he's boxed everyone in our era in the heavyweight division. He hasn't boxed AJ Dubois, Timer. Those are the sort of big names that he hasn't boxed, but everyone else.
Wait, he has fought AJ.
Is he?
Yeah.
What, in amateurs?
No, have they fought before?
No, not in professional.
I don't think
not
so.
in professional boxing. No, that's.
Oh no!
Look, I really hope not. If not, we'll look really embarrassing.
We might have to refilm the entire start of it.
Check. No, he hasn't.
No.
Fought Ajit Kayabel though. Lost to Ajit Kayabel.
Yeah.
Everyone
But he
forgets
has
about
fought.
that.
Yeah.
Monte Carlo as well. Out of all the places to fight in Monte Carlo, he fought Caballero. But he's boxed everyone. He's been around the world and done it all. And yeah, it's been a great career. And if that's it, I'm happy. But if he comes again, happy days at the same time.
Yeah, I just think that AJ fight could make sense. So.
He's already fought him, so the rematch could look very good.
I was just thinking, because he's fought pretty much everyone, I was like positive.
Presuming he had.
When you said that, I was like, oh, hang on, maybe there was a big stadium. Maybe there was a big stadium fight.
Because he's done, like you say, literally everyone else. But
I'm sure he's in there somewhere.
No, I think that does make a lot of sense, the AJ fight, because they are both. AJ's kind of at the bottom end of his career in terms of where he is, and Chisora is in a decent spot, and so it kind of makes sense. But equally, AJ could seriously flatten Chisora, and then it kind of is like, oh, that was a shame. That's shit. He gets hurt in his last
he
fight.
could do a Dubois.
He could get on.
He could.
One big 50th victory.
Remember, Sam, everyone's got a puncher's chance.
They do, but he is 41. He is 41, and I think I don't want to read too much into him being a very, very bad Otto Wallin.
Yeah,
he's back now though. AJ beat him and he was back.
Yeah, I know, but then Derek Chisora beat Joe Joyce that can't string a sentence together at the moment.
For Otto Wallin now, though, he's the sort of person that after that performance on Saturday night, he's going to be looking at his career and probably seriously thinking, do I call it a day maybe? Because he's no longer going to be a highly ranked heavyweight. He's going to be that sort of heavyweight boxer now that you chuck in against a David Adelaide, a Fabio Wardley, even a Johnny Fisher maybe, just to see if they're ready for that next step. And it was disappointing because I was expecting a lot more from him. But yeah, listen, Otto Wallin could call it a day, and I think everyone would be fine with that. He's had a decent career. He's had a very impressive win over Murat Gassiev that I think a lot of people kind of forget. Obviously, that it wasn't televised in the UK, but that was a superb win for him. But no, for Del Boy now, if he fights AJ, can you imagine that in the UK, in London, at Tottenham? We talk about Chris Eubank Jr., Conor Benn at Tottenham, potentially might not, well, it will sell out, but it probably won't sell out quickly. Can you imagine them two fighting?
Yeah, that's huge.
Incredible.
That is really huge.
The other thing as well is they could do that in Africa. Chisora's talked a lot about wanting to fight in Africa. His 50th fight, Turki Al-Sheikh might want to take a ring event to Africa. You can have them pair face off in Nigeria, maybe.
But if you're fighting in Africa, you want to get Bakoli involved, don't you? Realistically,
yeah, true.
As a genuine African heavyweight,
the guy that everyone hates, or wants to avoid, is Martin Bakoli.
Yeah, and I don't think that necessarily you don't give Chisora to Bakoli, because I think that's probably one too far. So I don't know. It's interesting to see, and I'm sure we will see. And fair play to Queensberry. If you are a heavyweight, it's the place to be at the moment. We've just seen them announce their DAZN schedule.
What a card.
For the start of the year. Lawrence Okoli, Richard Riakporhe, David Adley, Jamie TKV, Delicious Ori on the card, and I'm missing one as well.
You're missing the main event. Dillian White, Joe Joyce. The fight that we didn't want, but after seeing the press conference this afternoon, it's a fight that I want to see now.
Yeah, so fair play. Queensberry, if you're a heavyweight, it's the place to be.
Yeah.
And elsewhere on the card as well, while we're talking about it, there was a fair bit to sort of sink your teeth into, really. Nathan Heaney lost in a surprise loss on that one. What do we make of that? What do we make of the performance? What do we make of everything?
I was a bit gutted for him. Like, it just shows how ruthless the sport can be as well now. Like, you look 2 years ago, he got that massive win, won the British title against Denzel Bentley, and then now, it looks like he's calling it a day after being stopped again. And it's just, he might look at it back at it as a sense of frustration, because he was at one point looking at a potential fight with Chris Eubank after he'd won our British title, and having a big fight in Stoke and things like that. So yeah, it's a shame the way it's ended up over the last 18 months for him, but yeah, it was just yeah, you didn't want to see him lose in that way, and I think I wasn't expecting him to lose our fight, and yeah, just the way it went at the end as well with the stoppage, you could just see he didn't have nothing left, really.
Yeah, it's a shame. Do you think Heaney's almost a victim of his own success, in the sense of he overachieved by getting that British title and beating Denzel Bentley, and so it was almost set up for failure from there on out, because he had already kind of gone past where he probably should have ended up.
Yeah, I think he was honest in saying when he won our British title, he didn't expect himself to get there, and I'm sure he's glad he'd done it. That's a dream that most people never achieve, but yeah, it was just the way it's gone since then. He definitely wouldn't have, the two Brad Paul fights really didn't help him, and then the stoppage year as well. It's hard to see where he'd go from this point, and with the statement he's put out, it looks like he's made the decision and feels like it's the right time to hang up the gloves. And fair enough to him, I suppose. There's nothing else I don't think he can achieve. He got that British title. I think that was his dream. That was his ultimate dream, of winning that title. And that night, we covered it, it was a special night, a special victory. No one gave him a chance in that fight, and it's one I'm sure he'll always remember. So yeah, if that's his last fight, then at least he's got that to look back on.
It's a shame though, isn't it? Because that Brad Paul's fight, the first one, he's one round away from winning that, and then there's no rematch, and then he kicks on and gets an even bigger fight.
It's just those fine margins.
It's so fine margins in boxing, really, really fine.
Yeah, it is really. It's a relentless sport. It's just one of those things that we see it so often, where someone's on such a high, and then that one round, the one punch can just completely change the trajectory of your career.
But you look at Carty as well. He's 17-5. I want to see the people he's lost to.
Yeah.
Wow. Just what a performance by him as well. You talk about in this. Obviously, it's devastating to see that potentially we might not see Nathan Heaney back in the ring, and seeing that fantastic ring walk that he's got, which is, I thought the Welsh could sing when he's in an arena, my lord. But no, fair play to Catty. What a performance, what an upset, and no one called it. No one expected that to happen. Everyone expected this fight to be the sort of fight where Heaney gets back on track after that another devastating knockout loss to Brad Paul's last year. But if he calls it a day, it's a good job that it's a good job that he's doing it on his terms.
Yeah.
He hasn't he's let boxing make him retire, but he's gone back, he's reflected and thought, I've actually reached my glass ceiling. I've done what I wanted in this sport. The British level is the highest level that I'm going to get to. Okay, see you later. And he can look back, like you said, on an incredible career that he's had, that's been a lot of ups and some downs, but in the last couple of fights there's been a lot more downs than ups. But I think that highlight of his career has to be that win over Denzel Bentley, because I don't think many people gave him a chance in that fight. And you talk about upsets, that was an upset there. So yeah, cracking career. Devastated that he'd lost, but it's nice that he's called it a day outside of the ring, not in the ring.
Yeah, he can hang up his gloves and do so with a lot of pride of what he's achieved. So huge respect to him.
Why, Delilah?
Exactly. Another, I suppose, slight upset from certainly our point of view, and I think when I woke up the next day and checked the results, I was surprised. Masood Abdullah lost to Zack Miller in a majority decision. It was tight. I think it was 114-114 and then 114-15 on the other two. So it was a dead narrow decision. Fair play to Zack Miller, I guess, because Masood Abdullah is a fighter I've watched and I was really, really impressed with, and albeit very narrowly, he got beaten on the day.
Yeah, I think that was Zack Miller's second shot at a British title as well, so I think that bit of experience of being in that fight before, of close margins, I think he was just a bit smarter across the 12 rounds, and yeah, like you said, it's a close fight, probably one they could possibly do again, but like, when you get to that sort of level, I think we're finally getting to the point in boxing where people realise there's no shame in losing fights like that. And like, he can, like, that's not the end of the road for him. He can come back from that, and it's a good learning experience for him. But massive for Zack Miller, the second, because a British title win is massive for any fighter, I guess, to get their hands on that belt. So I'm sure it was a very proud night for him as well.
Yeah,
and back in November 2023 as well, he fought for the British title.
Yeah,
and he lost. And
again, that was
close.
It was in Manchester, and it was a really razor tight decision, and so it's almost.
It was on the
reflective of it.
What a coincidence! Denzel Bentley, Nathan Heaney card.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
was it?
Yeah.
There we go. Just we're talking about. Yeah, no. Like you say, he's had that loss, and to come back and get the win the second time is good for him. I'm sure he'll be buzzing, and he can kick on and get some opportunities that he wouldn't have otherwise had at.
But is that a bigger upset than Heaney?
No.
Right.
Heaney's opponent was there to lose. Realistically, that was the intention of that. Whereas that was a 50-50 fight in theory that people gave Abdullah the better of in the predictions, but I think
sometimes you look at fighters, and I think everyone's guilty of it. You look at their last performance, like, you're only as good as your last performance, and Abdullah looked really good when he picked up that, was it a Commonwealth title he picked up last time?
Yeah, against George Stewart. He just completely outclassed him on the night in the York Hall. It was really impressive. Yeah,
I think sometimes that can sort of cloud your judgment, but you look at Zack Miller, like you said, he's been in a British title fight before, he's been in and around that level for a long time, and is an experienced and very talented fighter, so it shouldn't come as much of a shock that he did win it. But I think it's just when you were probably when you're predicting a certain fighter to win, sometimes when it doesn't go that way, you're like, oh, that is a bit of a shock.
Yeah, and you look at the scorecards, like you said, it was so close they can run it back. I mean, that's another positive that Masood.
It's literally one round, isn't it? 1-2 rounds. That's all it is.
There's a 10-10 somewhere in that Steve Gray card, and he's normally known for having a shocker one, so can't believe he's got it right.
Yeah, it's a tight one, and another one as well. Jack Rafferty, hugely impressive again. So good, after beating Henry Turner, wasn't it, last time out, in what you would have called probably an upset in that time, and then coming back, putting a performance like that, dominant win, got the British, got the Commonwealth. Huge respect to him, because he's putting himself in a really good spot, isn't he? He's putting himself in a really good spot.
Yeah. I don't think people are giving him probably as much credit as he deserves either. He's 25-0 now. Picked up some, he went into the backyard of Henry Turner, picked up that win. Defended the British title year now again, with another stoppage win against a fighter that's only lost once before. So he's looking really good, in really good shape.
And in a division that we've spoken about just countlessly over the last couple of weeks, with Adam Azim, Dalton Smith, Jack Cattrall.
Do you put him in that sort of category now of Adam Azim, Dalton Smith, where you could be looking at matching him against one of them?
You've got to, because he's the British and Commonwealth and is it WBC Silver, I think it is, champ.
But who?
You've got to.
Who? Adam Azim would probably get more out of that fight than probably Dalton Smith.
Yeah, I think it makes more sense for Adam Azim, but then even then at that, I don't know if it makes a whole lot of sense for Adam Azim as a fight. I think he's too much of a risk for what it's worth, and I think that's the way Boxer will see it. I obviously, if I'm putting my fan hat on, I'm thinking that's a great fight, that's a great test for Azim, that's a fight I really want to see. But if you're putting your promoter and manager and fighter hat on, maybe you're thinking, what does Azim have to benefit from that? Because it's not exposure, because I think he is a bigger name. Belts wise, he's got the IBO World Light, which I think, albeit I'd rather have the British than the IBO World personally, I think it as a career decision, it gives you ranking, so it doesn't make sense for him to drop back down to British level and risk it against an unbeaten fighter like that. But it would be a good fight.
We're just looking now to try and see if I think the EBU
Promoter Ben trying to cook it.
Yeah, no. I think it's vacant, the European
because Azim
level,
had vacated it, didn't he?
Oh,
He
yeah,
avoided I said vacated it to not fight Dalton Smith, and so that he
Allegedly.
could. No, I'll leave that in. He did avoid Dalton Smith, of course he did. I also don't think Dalton Smith particularly wants the Azim fight at this point. I don't think it makes sense for him.
They want a big payday for
Exactly.
that fight,
I think they're just trying to kind of keep the narrative going because it suits them to.
Yeah.
I don't think either side really wants that fight right now because they've both got better things to be doing.
It's the thing that people will be calling for it, and we all want to see it, but at the same time, business-wise, it makes sense to build it up a bit further, get them world titles and get a unification fight. That's how you build it best.
It shows how much we care about that fight, though, because we're trying to talk about Jack Rafferty here. We've just got distracted again.
Yeah.
We've spent so much time talking about that fight over the last couple of weeks. And Rafferty deserves the respect because it was a cracking performance.
A vacant European title shot would be good for him, mind.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I think
Why
he's
not?
earned it as well.
because then he's got the British, Commonwealth, European.
And WBC International Silver.
Look, he's
Collecting belts.
Yeah.
well, Queensberry might have to do that picture that they did for Dalton Smith.
Yeah, belt collector. Yeah, it's fair play to him. He's done really well.
Mm-hmm.
Elsewhere on the card, Zach Parker won a fight that you probably would have expected him to win.
Wasn't a great fight, though, was it?
No, it wasn't a great fight.
Probably expected him to get the stoppage as well.
Yeah, probably, but shame that wasn't obviously the fight that was planned. A few other good performances on there. But on to top tier. Ben, you were down there, so take it away.
No, it was a really good night of fights again, and the Pachetti fight was the one that confused me more than anything. When I seen 59-55 read out, I was shocked it didn't go Pachetti's way. It was a close fight, but I didn't think it was that, like 5 rounds to 1.
No.
I didn't think it was that one-sided.
It was a close fight. I thought when it read out 59-55, like you said, I thought Louis got it easily here, but yeah, a bit of a shock. But that's what you get when a referee is the judge as well. You know, he's got so much on his mind that he might not be scoring every second of the fight, but that's what you want to see. You want to see a potential prospect coming through the ranks, getting a test, and he got a test on, what was it, Sunday, and you know, he can come back stronger from that now. But that Marvin Svark, you know, a lot of people remember him. He's had the experience.
He's fought a Fury. He's fought a Fury.
He's fought a Fury at heavyweight. Make your mind up of which Fury he's fought at heavyweight.
Yeah.
Mind.
Took a couple rounds as well.
But they've both 4-1 now, so you could run our back, I suppose. But
Yeah, come on, Dan. It makes the most sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, get him on the phone.
Yeah.
It does make sense.
Tom Welland looked very impressive in the main event.
he was very good.
I think he was a bit pissed off as well after the whole
but-
not making weight situation.
Yeah, what I was going to say on that is the fact that obviously, if I haven't seen it, the whole chaos around the making weight, because he come in slightly over, and Ramabaletsa using his experience, I think, was just playing a bit of mind games, and it caused a lot of hassle on that Saturday. I know they weren't too happy with it, but I think more impressive than anything, even though I think he was slightly frustrated, for a young fighter to sort of not take that frustration into the ring and just go all guns blazing from the start. He's still very much stuck to him and his team's game plan, and I thought he looked very impressive against the fighter that in Ramabaletsa, who's very experienced, a lot more experienced than what Welland's got in the ring. I thought he looked very good.
It's the perfect test, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's exactly what you want in terms of ability-wise. He is a step above, but also Ramabaletsa had so much in terms of knack and skill and experience, like you say, that he's going to give you something to think about that you need to work out and that you can take on into later fights, if it be a title fight or if it be a 50-50 fight later on. So, huge respect to Welland for getting through that one. And you know, Zack Fee, Harvey Smith, Toomey Phillips, 3 names that ring a bell if you've watched any top tier shows, and they've all come away with the victory
The Harvey
they needed
Smith
to.
one as well. Shout out to him and his fans, because they were the
Unreal,
loudest in the night.
Yeah, they're unreal. And if you interview, he's just the happiest man alive. Like, you just speak to him and he's just got a beaming smile on his face.
What was
huge respect to him.
the atmosphere for a Sunday as well? What was that like?
It was
full?
good. Like, obviously, I think on a Sunday you're not going to get as many people drinking and stuff here because, like, some people will have work the next day or whatever.
Worry
So
about that
it was,
Monday morning.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was
that's
a
Monday's problem,
different kind of atmosphere to what you'd get on a Saturday night. But I really enjoyed it.
It looked a good card, and I like what Top Tier is doing now, and I'm happy that they've got that DAZN partnership now, and they can continue to build. And Eddie Hearn was there, and I like as well what they're doing is with, like, they go into these top promoters like Wasserman, like Matchroom, and going, can we have one of your prospects? And Johnny summed it up quite nicely before all the fights. He said that they're loaning out. It's like one of their young fighters is getting loaned out to a championship team. That's exactly what they're doing, and they're giving them that. They're giving them that opportunity to perform and main event, because when is Tom going to main event a fight? He's not going to main event a fight that early in his career, and he got the opportunity on Sunday to do that. And compare that to what GBM show was on Thursday, on Friday night, is night and
I will say respect to Izzy and GBM for making sure the card stayed on with the amount of problems they had. I did a write-up on it, and when you actually looked at the card a month ago, it looked like it was going to be GBM's best card to date. They had a female Commonwealth title fight with Tycee Gallagher and Emily Jones, which was a great fight. Shakiel Thompson I didn't think had opponent announced then, but the guy was offered the Janabek fight at the end of last year. He's top 10 in the rankings for the WBA. He's no slouch, so he could have been, if they were able to find a good fight for him, that could have had a great fight. And then Shakan Pitters was having an EB European, which at the level of small hall is a belt you don't really see get fought for. You see the IBF European fought for all the time, maybe WBA International fought for all the time, but you very rarely see an EBU European, and they won the purse bids for it. And then his opponent had a head injury scan in fight week, and the replacement opponent didn't make weight, and you end up with a bit of a gimme. And it's a shame because the card did lack a lot in terms of competitive fights, in terms of excitement, which is a shame. But I guess their thinking is it's good to get their fighters out there. Their fighters are still wanting to get out there and get active and get good fights, and there were still some names on there that were really impressive. Edward Hardy, the farm boy, looked very good.
What an interview as well. We got some good views from her.
Yeah, Taz Nadeem as well. Another guy I interviewed.
He is shredded like mad.
Oh my god, the size of the man! He is unbelievable.
Incredible. Bloody hell.
And he's the kind of man who looks like you'd think he wouldn't be able to throw a punch because he'd be too stiff, but he threw them with some venom, which I definitely saw from ringside when I was sat.
You definitely didn't watch it like me and Ben then.
No. I was I was ringside for moments of that fight. But yeah, fair play to GBM for keeping it on. It's just a shame it fell apart so catastrophically in the build-up. And that, I think, just about rounds it up for what is, to be honest, a very good weekend of boxing. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah. Plenty to watch, plenty to keep us busy, plenty to distract me from Leeds' result on Saturday. So
same with me.
I'm happy.
Yeah.
Did Cardiff win? They did. Good game.
On
Fair
pens.
play. Fair play. Did Wales win, Harry?
Shut up. Did England win? Yes.
Yes, they did. Yeah. Thank you all for listening as usual, or watching on YouTube, however you prefer to do so. Obviously, let us know down below what your favourite fight was this weekend. Subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. There's a good one. There's lots of good content on TikTok at the moment. Shout out to Ben. So follow us on there. Thank you all for listening, and we'll catch you all later in the week for the preview.
Punches chance. Punches Chance Podcast.